Hey, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to build a toolkit for managing what might be the most powerful and complicated machine in the entire universe, your own mind. And we're about to find out why sometimes the smarter you are, the tougher it can be to actually find some peace.
All right, let's just dive right in with an idea that might feel a little backwards. We tend to think that a higher IQ is this magic wand that solves all our problems. But what if it actually creates them? This quote really gets the heart of it all. A powerful brain isn't always a calm one.
So that leads us right into our first section. We're going to explore why having a high-performance brain can sometimes feel less like a superpower and a whole lot more like a trap.
So let's get into the why behind this. Neuroimaging actually shows us that highly intelligent brains tend to have greater neural efficiency. But here's the catch. That efficiency means the engine is always running. Think of it like a pattern recognition machine that just doesn't have an off switch. It's always connecting dots, projecting futures, whether you want it to or not.
And this constant churn isn't just, tiring. It has real psychological costs. The same brain that can see 10 moves ahead in a chess game is also the one running 10 worst-case scenarios while you're just trying to fall asleep. This can lead to some serious anxiety. It can also create something researchers call the intelligence trap, which is where you get so good at arguing a point that you can rationalize your own biases and bad decisions with what sounds like perfect logic.
So, if you're driving this high-performance engine, how do you keep it from overheating and just spinning out of control? Well, the answer isn't to slow the engine down. It's to become a better driver. And that starts with a really cool skill called metacognition.
Metacognition sounds like a big, fancy word, right? But it's actually super simple. It's the ability to step outside of your own stream of thoughts and just watch it from a distance. So instead of being in the storm of your thoughts, you're observing the storm. And that, right there, gives you the power to navigate it. And this shows you exactly how it works in the real world. Researchers basically break it down into 3 simple stages. First, you plan. You ask yourself, okay, what am I actually trying to do here? Then you monitor. How's my plan going? Am I getting sidetracked? And finally, you regulate and evaluate. Is this approach actually working, or do I need to switch things up? It's like you're installing a conscious, deliberate control system for your own mind.
All right, so watching your thoughts is a huge step. But how do you stop them from just spinning around in circles and actually get stuff done? This next section is all about bridging that huge gap between having an intention and taking action.
Well, there's this amazingly simple and crazy effective tool for this, developed by a psychologist named Peter Gollwitzer. It's called an implementation intention, and it's specifically designed to close that frustrating gap between saying you'll do something and then actually doing it.
The real genius here is its simplicity. You're not just setting a vague goal, you are creating a preloaded program for your brain. By deciding ahead of time what specific cue is going to trigger a specific action, you basically automate the whole behavior. You take hesitation and willpower right out of the equation.
So instead of a fuzzy goal like, I should really exercise more, you create a very specific trigger. If I finish work, that's the cue, then I will immediately change into my gym clothes. That's the automated response. See? You've already made the decision, so when the time comes, the action is almost effortless.
Okay, so we've got a killer tool for acting with intention. But what about when the best action is no action at all? Let's talk about how this same internal mastery shows up in our social world. Because, real influence isn't always about what you do, but often it's about what you don't do.
Wow, just let that sink in for a second. We're so conditioned to believe that the most powerful person in the room is the one who's the loudest, the one talking the most. But this suggests that real power, well, it often lies in composure and restraint. Quiet people completely flip that script.
And this comparison just lays it out so perfectly. On one side, you have the hierarchy of volume. It's all about performing, competing for the spotlight, and looking for validation from the outside. But then you look at the other side, the power of stillness. That's about observing, processing, and signaling this deep internal security. They don't need to fill the space with noise because they're already comfortable in the space itself.
And to be clear, this isn't just about being quiet or shy. Not at all. This is a deliberate, conscious choice. Strategic silence is a tool. You're using the absence of words to communicate just as powerfully as the words themselves. So why is this so effective? Well, when you just pause for a second after someone makes a point, you completely disrupt the normal back and forth of conversation. It creates this little vacuum. And you know what?
people rush to fill vacuums, often revealing more than they ever intended. It signals that you are in total control of your reactions, and because you speak less, when you finally do say something, your words land with so much more impact.
And all of this, metacognition, these if-then plans, even strategic silence, it all leads us to the final and maybe the most important piece of this whole puzzle. These tools aren't just about performing better. They're about building a stable, internal foundation for your sense of self.
A couple of psychologists, Edward Dacey and Richard Ryan, gave us this brilliant framework for it called self-determination theory. They figured out that our drive really comes from two places: intrinsic motivation, which is doing something for the pure joy of it, and extrinsic motivation, which is doing something to get a reward or to get someone's approval.
So the huge question this brings up is, where does your sense of self-worth primarily come from? Is it dependent on what other people think, on praise, promotions, likes on social media? Or is it grounded in your own internal values, your principles, your competence, your feeling of autonomy?
And you can really spot someone who's internally grounded. They aren't arrogant or cold. Their psychological foundation is just way more secure. For them, a compliment is nice, sure, but it's a bonus, not a necessity. Their self-esteem doesn't just swing wildly from one day to the next because it's not chained to external events. They really feel like they're the author of their own life story.
So in the end, all of these different strategies really bring us back to this one fundamental question. Your mind is this incredibly powerful tool, but are you the one running it, or is it running you? Mastering these tools isn't about shutting your mind down. It's about learning to use it with intention, with purpose, and with a real sense of freedom. It's about making sure you're the one in the driver's seat,